Video được Việt hóa bởi Ngọc Tân từ group tài nguyên dựng phim. Nghiêm cấm các hành vi lít về rồi bán cho thằng khác. Mọi ý kiến đóng góp xin gửi về Facebook Quỳnh Ngọc Tân.
Now that we've taken a look at the media page and how to import and organize media, let's jump into the edit page where we actually build the story for our film. We've been in the media page for quite a while, but now down below in the lower part of our interface, let's go ahead and click on the edit button right here, and that will switch over to our edit page. Make sure that you're not in the cut page right now, because we're going to cover that in a little bit. We're actually going to skip over that for now because it's just easier to start out with the edit page. So let's take a look around our interface here. Let's start with things that we're familiar with. Over here on the left-hand side, this is our media pool, and this is the exact same panel as we see here in the lower part of our media page. This is where we can navigate to our media. This is where our smart bins and everything live. The only difference is that in the edit page, it's over here on the left, but we can still get to our smart bins, our keywords, all of our media. It just lives on the left. Also, if we double click on something, we can load it up here in the source viewer. Now, this is the exact same thing as the viewer here in our media page. So really, the source viewer and the media pool live in both the media page and the edit page. So we should be pretty familiar with those. Down below here, taking most of the bottom of our interface, is the timeline. The timeline is where we actually build the story for our edit. We'll go over this more in a second, but we can take a clip here and bring it into the timeline.
Video được Việt hóa bởi Ngọc Tân từ group tài nguyên dựng phim.
And put them in order to build a story. And that all happens down here. Whatever's happening in our timeline, whatever our video is actually going to look like, shows right up here in our timeline viewer. Now, the timeline viewer is similar to our source viewer, but instead of just previewing a piece of media, we're actually looking at what our movie's really going to look like. More on that in a few minutes. Up above, we have these little buttons, just like we had in the media page, and these will show and hide different panels on the edit page here. One important one that we're going to spend a lot of time on is the inspector. If we click on that, that opens up our panel here on the right. So you can change all the details about whatever you have selected here in the timeline. Sort of in the middle of our interface here, we have our toolbar. These are various different ways that you can interact with the timeline, as well as some options for kind of how things work when you're editing. Up here in the upper right, swapping out with our inspector, we have our metadata panel, which we should be familiar with from the media page. Works the same way. And if we click mixer, we can see our audio mixer down here. I usually have that off in the edit page because anytime we're going to get really fancy with audio, we're probably going to move over to Fairlight. In the upper left-hand corner, right by our media pool, we have our effects panel. These are all the cool little effects that we can put on our video to really change how they look. And you can just mouse over these to kind of preview them. Again, we'll get into this a little bit more in a few minutes. There are a couple more panels here in the edit page, but that is the really need to know stuff, the things that you're commonly going to be using. Again, all of the user interface in Resolve acts really similar. You can show and hide panels by clicking these buttons up here. And a lot of the panels are shared in between pages, especially the inspector, the timeline, and the media pool. And of course, the viewers. But that's a general overview of how the edit page is laid out. Next, we'll take a look at previewing media and get on to actually building a story in the timeline.
Video được Việt hóa bởi Ngọc Tân từ group tài nguyên dựng phim.